Good evening and welcome to Scotland at 7 here on Broadcasting Scotland. My name's Kenny McBride. We don't have any guests tonight. We've decided to give our guests a bit of a festive break, but we do have all the news for you. So we start, as we always do, with our coronavirus statistics update. As of 2 p.m. today, a total of 1,358,366 people in Scotland have been tested through NHS Scotland labs and UK government regional testing centres. Of these, 1,235,580 were confirmed negative, 122,786 were positive. There were 1,895 new confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Scotland, and sadly there were 7 new reported deaths of people who have tested positive. This will again be an underestimate of the number of cases, as not everyone with the virus will show symptoms and not all those with symptoms will get tested. As always, we urge you, if you are showing symptoms of a new dry persistent cough, a fever or a change in your sense of taste or smell, please do book a test as soon as you can. Of the people who have tested positive, there were 1,092 people in hospital last night, 65 of whom were in intensive care. The number of patients in Scotland who have died from complications caused by the coronavirus infection now stands at 4,467. This number only includes those who have died in hospital having received a positive test for the virus. And the latest UK daily figures published today show that 71,109 patients who tested positive for COVID-19 have sadly died from their illness, an increase of 414 since yesterday. This number refers to deaths in all settings, not just those in hospitals. Today would normally have been the day that we cover the Office for National Statistics report covering deaths in England and Wales, but of course, because it's the festive season, those figures have not been updated yet. We will have a fuller picture of what's happening in England and Wales and in Scotland early in the new year. The controversial trade agreement between the UK and the EU will be debated tomorrow in the Scottish and British parliaments. The SNP has said they will oppose the agreement in both, saying that Scotland did not vote for any kind of Brexit and that this deal does not serve Scotland's interest. Scottish Greens co-leader Patrick Harvie has expressed his anger at a lack of time to properly scrutinise the deal. His party is also expected to oppose the deal. At Westminster, Labour leader Keir Starmer is facing a high-profile rebellion against his party's Brexit position, as prominent MPs, including John McDonnell and Clive Lewis, accused him of falling into the trap of rallying around this rotten deal. A statement urging Starmer not to support the deal has been signed by Labour figures from across the political spectrum, including former Shadow Chancellor McDonnell and Ben Bradshaw, a former cabinet minister who is a staunch supporter of Starmer. Others in the party, including several former MEPs and former cabinet member Andrew Adonis, have also urged Starmer to reconsider. Meanwhile, the European Research Group, the influential group of Brexiteer Tory backbenchers, have said they will support the deal. The decision follows approval from its so-called Star Chamber of Lawyers, which has reportedly said that the deal is consistent with the restoration of UK sovereignty. This makes it likely that the UK government will not even need Labour votes to get the deal over the line in Parliament. The Liberal Democrats, the Greens, Plaid Cymru and all the Northern Irish parties have said they will join with the SNP in opposing the deal. The Brexit fisheries deal, negotiated by the UK government, will mean a fall in the quantity of key fishing stocks landed by the Scottish fleet, according to Scottish Government analysis. Scotland's valuable staple fish stocks, including cod, haddock, whiting and saithe, will all be cut. Far from having substantial increased opportunities in the future, the Scottish industry will have access to fewer of these fish than under the existing common fisheries policy arrangements, even at the end of the 5.5-year phase-in period, according to the analysis. These are the whitefish stocks that a significant part of Scotland's family-owned fishing fleet is dependent on for their livelihoods, and the shares, even in 5.5 years' time, will still be less than their equivalents now. This also has a potential knock-on effect for harbours, fish markets and processors, as fewer fish caught means fewer being landed and sold on for processing in facilities all around Scotland. The SNP has slammed the Tory government for failing to secure continued UK access to the European arrest warrant. and for securing only limited access to agencies such as Europol and Eurojust after Brexit, and said the UK is heading into 2021 as a less safe country as a result. The deal gives considerably reduced access to these vital agencies which help tackle serious crimes including human trafficking and terrorism. Earlier this year, the National Crime Agency Head of Operations Steve Rodhouse said his number one Christmas wish was that Brexit negotiators managed to keep the European arrest warrant. During Brexit negotiations, the Scottish Government gave Police Scotland new powers to help tackle human trafficking and published a paper outlining the importance of cross-border cooperation on security and law enforcement, which included case studies proving the effectiveness of the European arrest warrant. The SNP has urged the UK Tory Chancellor to make work pay and increase support for those in employment, after new figures revealed the number of people working while claiming universal credit has skyrocketed in the last year. In 2019, the number of people in Scotland in work and claiming universal credit was 71,000. In 2020, that has more than doubled to 175,000. Similar trends have followed in England and Wales, with the number of claimants in employment increasing from 739,000 to 1.8 million in England, and from 42,000 to 100,000 in Wales. The latest figures, independently verified by the Scottish Parliament Information Centre, show that nearly 2/5 of all claimants in Scotland, England and Wales are in employment. The SNP has said Scottish Secretary Alistair Jack must explain why the Tory government is continuing to waste millions of pounds of taxpayers' money on the Scotland office, after a Freedom of Information request revealed huge and indefensible increases in spending on what they called the zombie department. SNP Shadow Secretary of State for Scotland, Mary Black MP, said that devolution had made the Scotland office redundant, and that it was now little more than a Tory propaganda unit, which had failed to stand up for Scotland in the face of Brexit and a Tory power grab. New figures from an SNP Freedom of Information request revealed that overall spending by the department has risen by almost 3/4 since 2013-14, while spending on communications has nearly tripled in the same time. In October, reports suggested that the UK government would spend even more money on Tory propaganda by creating a new union unit or union task force. The Scotland office has said it does not hold figures for the union unit or task force. Last year, the Scottish Affairs Committee questioned the department's usefulness and recommended that its existence be reviewed. Welsh actor Michael Sheen has said he returned his OBE, as he felt it would be hypocritical to keep the British honour while exploring and speaking out about his country's tortured history with England and the UK. Speaking to journalist Owen Jones on Jones's personal YouTube channel, Sheen said that after writing his 2017 Raymond Williams lecture on Welsh history, he had to choose whether to give the speech and return the OBE or keep the OBE and not give the speech. In that lecture, Sheen spoke passionately about the damaging effects of the UK on Welsh language, identity and culture. He also said he thinks it highly inappropriate that the heir to the British throne be named the Prince of Wales, and has called on that tradition to be abolished when the current heir ascends to the throne. Sheen was awarded his OBE in 2009 after being named on the New Year's Honours list. He said he had promised not to actively publicise his decision to hand it back, adding, "I didn't mean any disrespect, but I just realised I'd be a hypocrite if I said the things I was going to say in the lecture about the nature of the relationship between Wales and the British state." The head of a racial equality think tank has accused the government of pursuing a divisive white nationalist agenda, prioritising the white working class at the expense of ethnic minorities in an attempt to win votes. In her first interview since being appointed director of the Runnymede Trust, Halima Begum said ministers had failed to respond meaningfully to the seismic shifts represented by Black Lives Matter protests and the disproportionate effect of COVID-19 on black and minority ethnic Britons. She said that while companies such as Penguin, Goldman Sachs, and Apple had been approaching Runnymede to find out what they could do to tackle structural racism, and the public and even civil servants were engaging on the topic, the government was denying its existence. I think the government's long-term plan is to work up white nationalism for the next elections, said Begum. What we should be saying is that working class black and white communities have been left behind because they've seen industries demolished in the north of this country. We haven't seen the economies built back. We haven't seen investment in our education system for years so that our black, white, and Asian working class children will thrive. What I see instead is the Conservatives pushing through a narrative of a white working class that's been left behind, which, by the way, is where Donald Trump was at about 6 years ago. In the United States, a federal judge yesterday ordered 2 Georgia counties to reverse a decision removing thousands of voters from the rolls ahead of the January 5th runoff elections that will determine which political party controls the US Senate. The counties seem to have improperly relied on unverified change of address data to invalidate registrations, the judge, Leslie Abrams Gardner, said in her order filed last night in the US District Court for the Middle District of Georgia. Defendants are enjoined from removing any challenged voters in Ben Hill and Muskogee counties from the registration lists on the basis of national change of address data, Gardner wrote in the order. The bulk of the registrations that the counties sought to rescind, more than 4,000 of them, were in Muskogee County, which US President-elect Joe Biden won handily in November, Politico has reported. If Republicans win one or both Senate seats in Georgia, they will retain a slim majority in the chamber and can then block Biden's legislative plans and judicial nominees. If Democrats win both, the chamber will be split 50-50, giving the tie-breaking vote to Vice President-elect and Chair of the Senate, Kamala Harris. Employers are being encouraged to recruit family members of serving military personnel. The Capitalizing on Military Family Talent Toolkit explains how businesses can take steps to employ and retain wives, husbands, and partners of those serving in the armed forces. The toolkit has been produced by the Scottish Government in partnership with the Welsh Government and the charity Business in the Community. It has been introduced because family members of military personnel can face significant barriers to employment, including relocation at short notice, being apart from families during deployments, and having primary caring responsibilities. The toolkit encourages businesses to recognise the skills and experience of military family members, such as resilience, problem solving, and good communication. And more than 40,000 baby boxes have been delivered to expectant parents this year. It brings the total number delivered since the start of the scheme in August 2017 to 163,397. The most recent available figures indicate that around 93% of expectant parents are taking up the opportunity to receive a baby box. Children's Minister Marie Todd said, "Supporting new parents this year especially has been vital. The baby box, which ensures that every family with a newborn has access to essential items, is part of our commitment to giving every child the best start in life." And that is all we have for you this evening. Just before we go, we'd like to urge you, as we always do, if you're able to support Broadcasting Scotland, then please do go to broadcastingscotland.scot/register and sign up there as a supporter. Your £5 a month makes a huge difference here at Broadcasting Scotland. Helps us to keep producing these programmes and hopefully to expand what we do. As many of you will know, we are running a crowdfunder just now as well, and we want to thank everyone who has donated so far. We're aiming that by April we will have enough that we can employ a full-time editor and the equivalent of 3 full-time journalists. So if you're able to support that as well, you can do so by going to broadcastingscotland.scot/donate to make a one-off donation. If you can't afford that, we absolutely understand. The shows will always be free to view online, and you're very welcome still to watch. But you can still make a big difference for us. You can follow us on Twitter at BroadcastScot. You can like our Facebook page, subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can find us on the Amazon Fire Stick. And then please do share the shows around with your friends and family. Word of mouth is one of the best ways that we can spread the word about Broadcasting Scotland. And that's the biggest way that you can help us to grow our audience. So please do share these shows with your friends and family. And finally, as we always say as well, we're always looking for volunteers. Even if we can employ people next year, we will still need volunteers to have the reach that we want to have. So if you're interested in getting involved, if you've got maybe a New Year's resolution to get more involved in Scottish politics somehow, then please do get in touch with us. We would absolutely love to hear from you. But that is all we have for you tonight. So thank you once again for joining us. I'll be back again tomorrow at 7 with another bulletin. But until then, thanks for joining us and have a great evening. Good night.
The Catalans, the Basques, the Galicians in the Basque.
An independent future for Scotland.
How quickly do you think a referendum can be arranged?
Best practice demands that it should be 6 months.
Just looking at the overall share numbers for Scotland at the moment, the SNP 46.4%.